Hi guys, I hope you're well. So today we're going to revise segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And in this chapter, we're going to talk about STP. So like I said, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. When we talk about segmentation, that means identifying the different market segments. Segment is a group in the market. So the group that has similar interests, they can be divided based on geography, based on their likes, based on their behavior. We'll go into more detail a bit later. After you look at the segments in the market, then you look at which one of these several segments that you want to target, or which two, which three, how many of them you want to target and why. So then you evaluate the segments, see which one is the best for you, and then you decide which one you want to target. That's called targeting. And after you've finished deciding your target market, then you decide how your product is going to be positioned in the market. When we talk about positioning here, it's not about the place where you're selling it. It's about the image that your product will have in the minds of the consumer. The biggest example that I can give you guys is Primark. So with Primark, their position in the market is that they provide their customers with affordable clothes. That's a position in their market. Let's go into a bit more detail. So as we can see, segmentation, like we said, is dividing the total market into smaller segments. Targeting is selecting the segment or segments that you want to enter. Then you differentiate. So then you see how you're going to make your product different than the other products that target the same target market as you. And then you'll position your product based on your differentiation. And you do all of this because you need to create value for the target customers. All this process has customers at the heart of it. Okay, so like we said, we've talked about the definition of STP. So now let's talk about some of the benefits. The benefits of doing STP is that it's going to help you retain the customers. That means when you have picked the target market after looking at all the segments and then position your product in that target market, in that segment, you will be able to provide a better service because you will have a defined target market. And that means the customers will keep coming back to you. So that means you'll be able to retain your customers. Enhanced opportunities for growth. So that means if you have defined segments that you know that you're targeting, you'll be able to see the opportunities of growth in those segments and you'll be able to avail those opportunities. Enhanced profitability means once you are aware of the segments, the positioning, you will be able to focus your marketing, your products, your features will be more focused, and that will give you more profitability. In the same way, you'll be able to target your communications, like your marketing communications, in a more effective way, and you will have an opportunity for segment dominance. So that means if you have clearly defined a segment and if you're working hard, that means you will be able to become more dominant in that segment. On the other hand, if you didn't choose a segment and you said, oh, I just want to target all the mass market, then it'll be harder for you to become the market leader in that type of situation. So let's look at an example. For example, if you have a holiday company, it says everyone takes holidays, so everyone is our target audience. That approach is wrong. You cannot target everyone because even though everyone wants holidays, there's different segments, different types of people. So there's backpackers, there's families, there's honeymooners, there's 18 to 30, there's people who want cruises, there's people who want luxury 5-star. So that this means, as we can see, there's different segments, there's different groups of people, and in order to target each different group, you need to have a different type of marketing message. You need to have a different type of features that they're going to be looking for. So you can't have the same approach for everything. And if you were trying to target all of these segments, it would become really hard for you, and it would be really very costly, very expensive, and you need to look at the resources you have. So if this company, the First Choice Holidays, is a recent startup, then what they need to do is decide which one segment or which two segments they're going to target, because startups don't have a lot of resources. So basically we need to keep our resources in mind when we select the segments. In that similar way, segments can be divided based on geographic segmentation, demographic segmentation, psychographic, and behavioral. In demographic, in geographic, we have, it could be different nations, regions, states, countries, or even cities. So it could be, the segment could be people living in Europe, or then if you want to make it more specific, it could be people living in the UK. If you want to make it even more specific, people living in Birmingham. And even if you want to go into way more detail, you can say people living in Solihull in Birmingham. So that will make it a very specific target, a very specific segment. And there's demographic segments that people are divided based on gender, family size, income, occupation, education, race, nationality. So these are demographic factors that you can divide the segments into, the market into. And then there's psychographic. So what type of lifestyle do they have? What type of personality do they have? What beliefs and attitudes do they have? That also impacts their decisions and what they want in a product. So that is also a factor. And then there's behavioral. So that means how will they be using the product? When do they decide to buy it? How do they behave? What kind of benefits do they want? So this also helps us divide the whole market into different segments. Once you've done that, then you move to targeting. So you look at the size and the growth of the segment that you're going to target. And then you'll see, is it a big segment? Is it big enough for you to have only one? Or if it's a small segment, then you might have two. And you can see the growth in that segment. Is it a segment that's growing, or is it dying? Is it is the segment becoming smaller? Also, you can see attractiveness. That means how attractive is that segment. You can see your resources and objectives and see which one fits with that. And then you target. So basically, there's three different types of targeting strategies. It could be undifferentiated, differentiated, customized, and focused. Let's look at what each of these mean. So undifferentiated is that you have the same marketing mix for the whole market. So for example, Coca-Cola, Mars Chocolate, they have the same marketing mix, so the same 4 Ps for the whole market. Then we look at differentiated. That means you have more than one segment. So you have 1, 2, 3, you could have 2 segments, and for each segment you have a different marketing mix. So you have a different 4 Ps, product, price, place, promotion, for different segments. Then there is focused. That means you have the same 4 Ps, but then you see which segment is focused on which part of it, and then you alter that based on your marketing mix. And there's customized. So that means here, if we see this example, industrial electronic system supplier has a different marketing mix for each of their customer. Even though Nissan and Mercedes are both car producers, they could use the same marketing mix, but they're not. They have a different one for each customer. That means customized. So they're customizing and making a special marketing mix for each one of their customers. Positioning means linking the product and service to the solution. So making sure that your product or service occupies a meaningful position in the customer's mind. So what you need to do in order to position your product is to have clarity. It should be clear what your message is and what your product is going to do and what position you want it to have. You should be consistent with it. So once you pick a positioning, you need to make sure that in your future marketing communications, in your product and its features, you're consistent and you give the same positioning. It needs to be concentrated, you need to be focused, and it needs to be competitive. So when you're positioning your product, you need to see what position your competitors have and how your product can fill in a gap if there's a gap in positioning. So those are some things that you need to keep in mind. This is something we've already discussed, and so these are different maps that you can see different products lie on different place in the market, like in the mind of the consumer. They could be low quality, low price, low price, high quality, high price, or high price, low quality. This basically means what position does each of these chocolate brands have in the mind of the consumers who buy chocolates. So as you can see, there's several different positions, and each of these occupies its own position. But companies also write positioning statements, like they have vision and mission statements. They also write positioning statements. So in that statement, they address their target market and they mention their brand and what they're doing and what is making them different from the competition. So if we read Amazon's positioning statement for when they were an online bookstore and not what they are right now. When they started, their competition was bookstores. So if you look at that, their positioning statement has they're addressing for internet users. So they're addressing who enjoy books, they're addressing their target segment, they're mentioning their brand, and they're saying their concept is that they're providing access to over 1.1 million books. And they're also making themselves different from their competition by saying, unlike traditional book retailers, Amazon gives a combination of extraordinary convenience, low price, and comprehensive selection. So they're making sure that they're creating that differentiation and that position in the mind of the consumer using the statement. Repositioning means either you're making a change in your target market and you want them to think differently of your product. So maybe you have a certain position in the market and you want to change it. So they're saying sometimes marketers feel the need to change the present positioning in order to make it more meaningful. So if you can see that your product is not, the position is not profitable, if it's not working well, then you can reposition your product in the market. That is all for this chapter. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me.